Hey everybody, it's Keith, enjoying a glass of orange juice, sitting here in the plush comfort of the Lango Lounge, welcoming you to VTS37. That's right, 37. That's a lot of videos. I hope they're all good. If not, we'll just pretend. Anyways, good to have everybody. Welcome back, if you're back. Welcome to you're not back, but here for the first time. Welcome. Okay. Last month, VTS36, we got started on talking about music and a long lost art of figuring out how to do music in terms of beats in animation instead of the old scrub the timeline thing. Okay? And it was kind of esoteric. I had some folks write me saying, I didn't get it. And I was, like, I'm sorry. Like, but I also don't know music. Should I know music before I get it? I'm thinking, it would help. So if you don't know music or how to read notes, you don't know much about music, yeah, this stuff might be a little confusing. I'm not a musician, but I understand music because I used to play trumpet in grade school, and I used to sing in choruses and stuff. You wouldn't think of me as a glee boy, but la 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 la. Yes, indeed, I used to be a singer. Well, not a very good one, but yeah, when it comes to chorus, you need bodies, right? So there I was. So I know a bit about how to read the music and the structure of it and all that stuff, so that helps. Another thing is I had one subscriber, Brent Levasseur, I hope that's how you say your name. He sent me some information, some neat background information. He's a composer, and he kind of does this animation thing for fun on the side, but he's really a composer. So cool. We have so many neat subscribers. I wish you could all get to know each other. But anyways, he shared with me the difference between a 3/4 and a 4/4, and it was just really neat to just hear the input and feedback from folks. One thing that he did mention is that 4/4 is kind of like waltzy, and 3/4 is kind of more like a marchy sort of thing. It's a little bit brisker pace and stuff like that. 4/4 tends to be a little more easy going as you go. And he also made mention that, of course, that those who score for movies or for films will oftentimes change time signatures in the middle, depending on what the music needs to be, which means a certain section may be 3/4, and then they'll switch to another section where the music has to have a different flavor, and they'll switch to a 4/4. And then sometimes if they want something really offbeat, they'll do like a 7/8, which is like one measure of 3/4 and then another measure of 4/4. You lost me there. Too many 4s, 7s, 3s. That's a little too deep for me, okay? There's a reason why I'm an animator and not a musician. But still, it was neat to hear. So what are we doing this month? This month, I'm showing you an example of how to kind of break this down, all right? I've got a little piece of music. We're going to write through it. We're going to hop right in. I'm going to break down the music, figure out the beats per minute, then translate that into beats in animation time, how many beats per second, how many frames does it take to make a beat, and then from that start figuring out how to break that down into pieces, animate a particular character doing some things that fit in line up with the music. And we're going to do it all without scrubbing the timeline hardly at all. Okay, most of it we're going to understand the timing of when we can hit an action versus when we shouldn't hit an action. And once we figure out the math of that, it's easy to kind of figure out, well, if I wanted to do something, I'll have it do here. And, well, anyways, I'll show you. I could just sit here and talk, but I got orange juice to drink. You got videos to watch. Watch a video. Alrighty. Let's get into this. Now we're going to kind of recover some ground that we did last month, kind of explain things again. Like I mentioned in the opening, it's probably not a bad idea to go ahead and watch VTS36 again to kind of get yourself up to speed on this if you haven't watched it 5 minutes ago. Again, because it's a pretty esoteric topic. Not many people are teaching on this stuff, so there's not a lot of stuff for us to go off of. We don't have a lot of information for us to kind of bounce these ideas off of because most of the people who did stuff this way are gone. They're just not around anymore. And so, anyhow, I got a piece of music here that it's an excerpt from the Scare Floor theme from Monsters Incorporated. It's a jaunty little piece of music. You guys are probably familiar with it, and it's short enough that I can use it fair usage, and I'm not going to get sued by Disney. You lawyers, you can't stop me now. That's because it's less than 10 seconds. That's why. And it's for educational purposes. I'm teaching you guys so I can use it. Well, that's what the law says, whether they agree with it or not. Shh, don't tell them. Okay. Joking around. Anyways, I got this piece of music, so let's have a listen to it and see what it sounds like. All right, so it sounds a little tinny because the screen capture software can't capture the audio from an audio program and the microphone that I'm using at the same time. So I'm just blasting this through my speakers, my tinny little speakers, and I'm picking it up on my voice mic. Don't worry about it. At the end of all this, I'm going to have a quick time for you that's going to be boom right there. You're going to be able to listen to it and key in on it. Okay, so we got this jaunty little piece of music. And if you remember from VTS37, what we want to do is figure out how many beats per minute it is. Okay, so let me just go ahead and put this at a preset. What's beats per minute is basically if you tap your foot to the major beats for the music once every measure-ish. Once every measure, you're going to find out how many times per minute you would tap your foot. Okay, and that's how musicians figure out the tempo of something. Okay, if you remember, sheet music is telling you how to divide time, but it doesn't tell you how much time to divide. Okay, meaning if it's a 4/4 time, you take a piece of music and you divide it into 4 equal bits. You know, that's how you divide the time up. But is that measure 1 second long? Is it 2 seconds long? Is it a second and a half? You don't know. That's where beats per minute comes in. That's how musicians figure out how fast or how slow to play something. So we want to find out the beats per minute because that helps us find our frame beats in animation, because animation doesn't divide time the same way music does. Okay, again, watch VTS37 for a refresher on that. So the way I like to figure that out is I use my little free, well, it's not free, you can try it for free, but it's a $9.95 piece of shareware, Crystal Metronome. It's perfectly fine, it does a great job, and it has this neat little easy tap feature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this music and then just kind of tap as if I were, tapping my foot for each of the major beats. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit play here, and then I'm going to kind of pick it up as the music's going. I'm going to start tapping, and it's going to tell me roughly what this is. I'm going to do it a couple of times because, I might be off a little bit here. I might be a little quick. I might be a little this, a little that. So what we want to do is kind of just take a sampling. So I'm going to do it 3 times and kind of figure out an average and then test it. Okay, so let's try this. All right, so I tapped it out. 103. Okay, let's try it again. I think I was a little quick on that. So let's try one more time. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Okay, so this time I hit 99. So first time was a little quick. This one's a little bit off. 99, 103. So let's try it one more time. We're probably going to be somewhere between 99 and 103. All right. Probably closer to 99 because I felt like I was in the groove of the music a little bit more. All right, one last time. Deep, doop, 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 doop. So 99-ish. Okay. One more time, just for giggles. Okay. We keep coming in 99, 100. Let's just use 100. Because it's kind of, we could use 99, but 100 is nice and it divides easily. Okay, so we've got a 100 beat piece of music here, which is all right, or the the beats per minute. We have 100 beats per minute. Okay, roughly. Let's test that to make sure that that's really what we have here. The way I test it is the metronome here has this really cool little feature where it'll play it back. So what I'll do is I'm going to turn the music down so it isn't quite so loud, and we can kind of hear the music in the background, but the beating we hear really, really loud. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get this playing, and then just as it's about to hit a beat, I'm going to start the music up here. Okay, so get this going. 1, 2, 3, 4. kind of close, but I kind of hit the play button a little bit early. But you kind of get the sense it wasn't going too fast or too slow. Again, I do this a couple of times to make sure, because there's a human error element involved here. But this is what you do. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's not synced up perfectly, but you get the sense that it's not moving a lot faster or a lot slower. Let me give you an example of a lot faster or a lot slower. If we did this at, say, 105, you're going to start to hear a little bit of a deviation in what's happening with the music and the sound. Okay? 1, 2, 3, go. You hear how it's just not lining up? It just doesn't, I mean, you have to have a bit of a sense of rhythm for this stuff. We'll try it one more time. 1, 2, 3, start. It sounds close, but what's happening is it's kind of running away, okay? And so you can be off just a little bit, and it's not going to matter that much, but if you start getting off a lot, then what happens is your music starts to slip. What I mean by that is the things that you figure out, if the beats per minute aren't correct in figuring out the music, what happens is everything you do from beats per minute afterwards, like figuring out how many frames is a beat, then dividing up those frames into particular distinct actions, after a while your music runs away from your animation and they don't line up anymore. Okay? So that's why I tap it out and then I test it. The 100 beats per minute for this piece of music seemed to work out pretty well. Now what we want to do is we want to figure out, well, how many frames is a beat? Okay, since there's 100 of them in a minute, how many frames is one beat? All right, so let's do that. Now in VTS37 I covered this somewhere around minute 31. I tell you how to figure out the math on that, but we're going to do it again here real quick. So we have ourselves music which is 100 beats per minute. Okay? How do we figure that out? Well, first we want to get it down to seconds. So how many beats per second are there? Well, there's 60 seconds in a minute, right? And there's 100 beats per minute. We just divide 60 by 100. And that gives us a nice round number-ish. Well, easy number to work with, not round, but an easy number of 0.6. So there's 0.6 beats per second. Well, how many frames is a beat then? Okay, so there's one beat every 0.6 seconds. Well, if we work off 24 frames per second, all we do is take 24 and multiply it by the number of beats per second, which is 0.6. And that gives us a number that is not exactly round and easy to work with. It gives us a number which is 14.4. Okay? 14 would be simpler. 14.4, okay, life oftentimes doesn't line up the way we want it to. So that means every easy for me to say, every 14.4 frames is a beat. So you think, okay, I got to do every 14.4, but I don't want to set keys on 0.4 frame or 28.8 or 43.2. And you don't want to keep doing that because it's hard to manage, okay? And I don't like animating on subframes. It's something I don't like to do. So what I want to do here is show you how to keep this stuff in line. We have a little bit of extra right here. What we want to do is we want to round this down. If this was 14.8, we would round it up to 15. Since it's 14.4, we're going to round it down to 14. But if you're not careful, what happens is if you round this down to 14, over time your music's going to slip again. Okay? Because we're this 0.4 frames, every time we have a beat, we're going to be missing 0.4 frames. And if you let that go too long, your music starts to slip away from your animation, meaning stuff isn't syncing up the way you want it to. So what I do is I kind of create an account or a pile of extra unused time. All right? So how do we do that? Well, let's come over here. We have our beat equals 14.4. Okay? And we're going to round that. We're going to turn that into a 14 beat, just for keeping things simple in our animation, okay? Because we don't want to have to try and do 0.4 frames.
You can do that in CG, but you can't do it anywhere else. Well, I guess you could now these days since everything's done on a computer. But 14 is simpler. So what does that mean? Well, we're going to have our timeline, which is what frame are we going to mark a beat on. So we're going to mark the first beat is going to be at frame 14. The next one will be at frame 28. The next one will be frame 42. The next one will be frame 56. And the next one will be frame 72. No, sorry, frame 70. My math is horrible. Frame 70. Okay? But each time we do this, we're forgetting this 0.4. So what I do is I make a pile over here called extra. All right? There's 0.4 frames that we didn't use yet. All right? And when we do this here, we add another 0.4. So now we have 0.8 frames that we haven't used yet. And if we come over here, we add another 0.4. We're going to have 1.2 frames we haven't used yet. Here we'll have 1.6 frames we haven't used yet. And here we'll have 2 frames we haven't used yet. You see how as time goes by, this is like not even 3 seconds and we're already 2 frames off. 6 seconds, you'd be 4 frames off. All right? 9 seconds, you would be 12 frames off. All right? You're off, and after 9 seconds, if you don't account for this 0.4 beat, you're off by almost half a second. All right? So you can see how your music starts to slip away from your animation. So it's important to account for this extra little piece of beat right here. Well, a little piece of beat, a little piece of beef, that's what it is. So here's what I like to do. You can choose when it starts evening out. Eventually everything starts to even out. On this one, it doesn't take that long. It only takes us 3 seconds to make up two frames. So you ask yourself, okay, is it okay if my animation slips 2 seconds or 2 frames every 3 seconds, and then I just add it to there and kind of make it up? That's your choice. That's probably not a bad way to go. It's nice and simple since this math works out real easily. Every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every 5 times through our beats, every 5th beat, just add 2 frames. All right. So here we would add 2 to this, and instead of keying it at frame 70, we would key it at frame 72. All right. The problem with adding 2 right here is this particular beat right here it feels a little extra long. Okay, and so you could add 2 here, but you're really making this one. You're making it into 16 frames now instead of 14 frames, and that's pretty noticeable. So a lot of times what I'll do is I won't add. Let me go ahead and erase all this with my cruddy little eraser. Cruddy eraser. And cruddy erasered. Enough. Okay. So here we have frame 70. What I'll like to do is anytime I get over a frame, I'll add it in. So here I have a frame. I'm going to take this 1 and I'm going to throw it over here and I'm going to turn this into 43. So I'll key 14, 28, 43. Now what I've done is I've taken this 14 frame beat and turned it into 15 frames. What's a frame between friends, right? You're not going to notice it at all. But now we add 14 to this, our 56 becomes 57. Okay? But we can't remember that we had 0.2 left over. Okay? So we still have this 0.2 we haven't used. But we already took the 1, so we don't have to worry about that. And so at frame 57, we'll have 0.6 we haven't used. And then at this won't be frame 70 now, it'll be frame 71. But now, 0.2 plus another 0.4 we haven't used. Remember, we're using 0.4, we're adding it up. So 0.6 we haven't used, and then we add another one. So instead of 2, we have 1.0 frames we haven't used. And that's real simple. We just take that 1, throw it over here, and we make this, we key this on 72 frames, or frame 72 instead of frame 71. And what we've done is we've accounted for all our extra frames of unused music beat every 3 seconds. And we do it in such a way that you won't ever notice it, but all the math adds up. And this way, as long as you remember this, every 5th time through it, well, actually you can break it down or even simpler. Every 3rd time, add a frame, and then every 2nd time after that, add a frame. So three beats, add a frame, 2 more beats, add a frame, 3 beats, add a frame, 2 more beats, add a frame, 3 beats, add a frame, 2 more beats, add a frame. It makes sense? So that way you can kind of accommodate or compensate for these unused sub-beat or sub-frames in your animation, so that the music doesn't slip away from your animation. Okay, so this is what we do. We figure this out. We want to go ahead and take this over into Maya now and see how it plays. Okay, so here we are in Maya. I've got my little jelly bean character here, and the whole point of this exercise is to try and animate in a way that you don't have to sit here and scrub to try and find beats in your timeline. Okay, because that's annoying, and it's hard to find. Like if you set your sound in here and you try and find the beats in this mess, you can't find it. Okay, that's why we taught this whole other way, so that you make your life simpler. So I'm going to turn off the sound for now. Since we're using a 14 beat, okay, what we want to do is we got a 14 beat, and every 3 times we use the beat, we add a frame, and then another 2 times after that we add a frame. So pretty simple, right? And so that means every 14 frames, like frame 14, frame 28, frame 42, something or other, plus 1, okay, so frame 43, yada, yada, yada. As we go down, what we want to do is have the actions of the character line up on those frames, or something that is an easily divisible aspect of 14. So if we want to make something pretty quick, we can also do things at 7s. Okay, so we can frame 7 we can do things, frame 21 we can do something, 28 plus 7 is frame 35 we can do something. So it starts to give some structure to where we can hit particular aspects. Now if we hit every one of these, the character's animation will be very monotonous and very linear, and it'll have no texture. So we don't want to hit every single one of these. What we're trying to do is find out what ones which frame we can do something and have it feel like it's in time with the music. Okay, to get down less than that, now we start getting into 3.5 frames, which, okay, trying to write that out with a mouse isn't very fun. You get down to 3.5 frames, and that's where things start getting a little dodgy. Okay, what's 3.5 frames? So it's hard to do that. So maybe if you want to start breaking things down, and say you want a character to do something 4 times in a beat, maybe you do it on frame 4, and then frame 7, and then maybe frame 10. Okay, so it's a little closer here and there. You're rounding it up and then rounding it down. You see what I'm saying there? Let me show that to you in a way that makes sense. Okay, let me put this down out of the way. So let's say we want to have the character do something, we have a 14, we're using a 14 beat, a minus, let's not forget the extra things we're doing. But, in that 14 frames, what do we want the character to do? Okay, so there's 14. In the middle is 7. The exact middle again, 3.5. The exact, middle of that again is 10.5. Well, we don't want to do stuff on half frames. So what do? Well, we can round this down, and we can round that up, or we can round them both down and make it simple. So we can make anything that we want to do, like a character is doing something quick. Now this is pretty quick, every three or 4 frames. That's very, very quick action. Maybe a blink or running or something like that. So these really, really quick actions, or let's say we want to hold for 3/4 of this, whatever. But anyways, we're trying to divide this up, and we've got these uncooperative half frames that we're dealing with. Well, just round them, okay? So we'll turn 3.5 into a 3, and we'll take 10.5 and turn it into a 10. Yeah, it's a little extra long that way. We got 4 frames here, and we got 3 frames there. We got 4. As long as we're in the realm of 3 to 4 frames for every possible action, and as long as it all adds up, we're going to be close. Because what's half a frame among friends, right? And that's really the thing we want to keep in mind. Is generally we'll try and find somewhere around frame 3 and somewhere around frame 10, give or plus a frame, we can do stuff at quarters, and we do stuff at half at frame 7. Okay, so what does that look like practically? Well, let's take and let's say this guy, he's gonna, let's say he's gonna blink. Okay, so we'll take his little blink controller and set a key there, go to frame 3, set a key, frame 7. Well, let's take that, we'll move it to frame 4. Since it's a blink, it'll be pretty close. So frame 7, we'll have him blink, and then we'll have him open his eyes by 10, okay? So it's a pretty slow blink. So what we could do is we can kind of tighten it up a little bit, and we can have the whole thing kind of hit and pop somewhere around frame 10, okay? And maybe we won't make that quite so big, but the idea here is pretty simple, okay? So we want that to occur somewhere around, because a full beat would be at frame 14, all right? So let's maybe have them do a moving hold to frame 14. And we're like, well, that's too much of a sliding hold. All right, so, just do what I always do. Key it and slide it back. Now, these moving hold things you don't have to worry too much about. As far as like when you're doing things like eases and stuff like that, don't worry about making stuff happen on divisible frames for music. Just make it look good. And I'm just kind of crapping my way through this, not doing a very good job of it. But I'm just adding some frames, just some keys right here to kind of give it a little bit of an ease. All right. But the blink happens somewhere around the 3/4 of a beat area. Okay. And let's say he holds that, and we want to have him not hold it for 14, but we want to have him turn and look somewhere. Well, I don't want to have him wait another 14 frames to turn and look. Let's go ahead and, at frame 21, try and hit that turn and look. Okay, you can start it at frame 21, and again, we want to hit that quarter somewhere around the next 3 or 4 frames, or if we want, we can go all the way out to frame 28 and have his turn line up with that. You could do that. Well, here's what I want to do. Again, just knowing that I've got these numbers to work with, I want him to kind of turn and be settled in before frame 28. So I'm going to just do a little bit of a turn for him. Just a dumb little thing. Just something stupid. Like I said, I'm not doing this to make great looking animation. I'm doing this to kind of show an idea. So if it doesn't look good, sue me, okay? Because the whole point here isn't to show you like fabulous, glorious animation. It's to show you how to make fabulous, glorious animation when you guys have the time on your own that I don't want to go ahead and take up the time to do. Okay? So we've got this turn right here. We'll go ahead, maybe do a little something, a little breakdown. Break it down. Do 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 ta ta do do ta ta do do. I'm in a musical mood, right? So we got this little hit right here. And so I've got it all happening somewhere around, I'm just going to key these up, all these controllers. I just like to do that. It starts at frame 21 and it finishes in the next 4 frames. So that will actually feel sort of in time with the music, but this hold feels, I don't know, I guess it feels okay. But to make it feel like it's hitting really good timing, we're going to want to hit it a little bit. It's like lip sync. You want to lead the sound a little bit. So a full beat's at 14, another half beat's at 21, and then another full beat's at 28. So if we want to hit this and make it feel like it's coming in and feeling in time with the music, and this is, another 4 frames is somewhere around that 3.5 frame breakdown. Let's take this thing and we'll just kind of slide it ahead a couple of frames. All these things. So what will happen here is when the music plays, it'll feel like it's in time with the music. Now, it's not going to feel synced to the music in the sense that, it's going to hit a big splash of the music. That's something you're going to have to figure out on your own. You have to go through the effort of breaking down the music and saying, well, here's a slow part, here's a big brass hit, here's the quiet part. Okay, you got to do the hard work there. This is just, if you have just a regular track of music that's laying in there and it's not driving the action, or the action is not specifically derived from the music. For instance, plucking of the strings on a piano, out of a violin for a character sneaking, the old classic Warner Brothers thing. Do 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 do. It's musical. It's driving the animation, and the animation is derived from the music. Okay, that you're just going to have to study where those things are. This math stuff will help you figure out which frames to put it on, but you got to figure out, okay, that's 10 seconds into the music. It does do 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 do. So you're going to have to know somewhere around frame 240. You're going to have to animate your character going do 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 do. There's no shortcut to that. You're just going to have to do the homework. This is just for music that's playing over top of it, and you want it to feel like it's in sync, but not necessarily driven from it. Okay. So he does this little look thing right here. Okay, and maybe we say we want him to look back again. All right. So again, figuring this out, I wanted to look. Let's say I want to hold this for, a second and a half. Well, a second and a half from the music beat is going to be somewhere around frame 25. What's a second and a half added to that? Well, that's going to be 24 frames added to it, so you're going to be all the way up to 49. Okay, and then add another 12, so you're all the way up to frame 61. Okay, by this time, remember from our math, a beat is at 42, but we added a frame because our leftovers. So 43. You keep that chart next to you of your leftovers, so you know which frames you're going to put stuff on. You can actually figure it out and just write up the chart for the entire sequence of your shot. All right, it's just something you want to do. I just remember it that we added a frame here, so now we add 14, so we're up to frame 57, and so frame 61 is 4 frames after 67 or 57. Well, let's not have them turn on a quarter hit. Let's have them turn right here on a full hit. All right, meaning this is a full beat right here. All right, because it's 14 times 3 plus the 1 extra frame that we didn't use because our beat was 14.4. I'm going to keep repeating myself. If this starts getting confusing, again, just rewind it, watch it. Like I said, nobody's teaching this stuff, so it's really kind of hard to know what to expect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them turn and look over here. And again, we're not interested in making very pretty animation. We're just interested in making something that plays along with music. But there's a part of me that still wants to make it look good because I'm stupid that way. Okay? So there, and we'll just go ahead and key all that. Now, of course, this is a moving hoodie sliding, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take all these things and we'll make this turn relatively quick. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Key right there. All right, maybe we'll put a breakdown, oops, one of these at a time. Maybe we'll do a little top of the head leading breakdown here. All right. So that's the whole point there. And so he'll hit that just a little bit before that full beat. Let's take and add a frame to it. Again, like lip sync, we want to lead the beat a little bit. All right. So what we're doing is we're just kind of making up some animation as we go. I'm not making it look pretty, but I'm trying to stay somewhere true to the numbers that I came up with based off the music. Okay, and let's say I want to hold this for 1 second, as if he saw something and then he wants to take off. So maybe not even 1 second. Let's say he holds it for half a second. So add 12 frames to this. All right. Well, 57. What we could do here is, since we want to hold it for half a second, well, what's 14 frames but a half a second plus 2? What's 2 frames among friends? So what I would do is I would actually take this out to the next beat. Instead of holding it for half a second, I'd hold it for 1 more beat, okay? Which in this case is 14 frames. So we'll take this out. 57 plus 14 is 71, but we're going to want to add that extra frame right there. So let's hold this and make him leave off from here somewhere around frame 72. Okay, so again, we'll just key all this stuff somewhere around frame 66. And then I've got this little script I wrote a number of years ago for this character that makes him do hops, and it's on a certain preset frame thing, but I'm going to just really quickly kind of put it in there for you. Let me first do something here. I want to have a cut on this beat right here. Okay, instead of having the character hop, I'm making this up as I go a little bit. Instead of having the character hop right here, I want to have the character hop after a cut. I want to show you how you can use cuts in time with music as well. Okay, so let's select this camera, and remember the beat's going to be at frame 72 because we added those leftover frames which we weren't using, or subframes. All right, so at frame 72, let's say we want to cut right there. All right, so what we'll do is we'll set the camera here, and then we'll set a key where the camera's back here. Okay, so it looks like a cut. Again, like anything, like lip sync, we want to kind of lead this a little bit. We don't want it to hit right on it, so we'll give it, we'll lead it by 2 frames or something like that, so it'll feel like it's cutting in time with the music. All right, so then we take this guy, and we could cut on action, which is a very common thing to do, or we could cut and then have him act. I like to cut on action, so what I'm going to do is somewhere around this frame 71 thing, start him hopping. This is where you can kind of get into a little bit of trouble. Do you want to start a hop? Do you want to start an action on a beat, or do you want to have the action hit on a beat? I prefer to have the action hit on a beat. So I know my little short hop thing here is 5 frames. Okay, it's a little pre-built thing that makes him hop on 5 frames. The head's a little crazy right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, on this one frame, just on this one frame, I'm going to go ahead and kind of bring it back a little bit just so it doesn't feel so crazy. Alright, so here it looks like he's starting to hop. Alright, so fun. And he's hitting pretty close to the beat. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll back it up so that he lands pretty much right on the beat. Okay, but of course I have to do it to all of his controllers. So we'll take all of them, slide it back so that he's landing right there on the beat. Okay, and I want to have him hop another time. So I hit my button, because this is a little script I wrote, to make him hop again. But now he's hopping. It takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames. So he starts at 72, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 frames per hop. Well, 5 doesn't divide into 14 very nicely. So what I could do is I can just kind of, this little hop was based off of a 5-frame hop cycle, but you know, I can just make it 7. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this one out 2, take this one out 1, take this one out 1, and just find some place where I can add that little hop and just stretch it out to 7. So now what's going to happen is when he hops, he's going to be hitting, you know, 72 plus 7 is right around frame 79. 79 is going to be a half a beat. Okay, there's going to be music there that's going to line up with this. Trust me, it's going to line up. And let's go ahead and just have him hop again, and we're just going to do the same thing again. We'll move this out. We'll turn a 5-frame hop into a 7-frame hop. So do that. Move it out 2 frames. Move this one out a frame. Move this one out a frame. You know, just kind of breaking it up a little bit. All right. And so 72 plus 14 is 86. So we're hitting a beat. And I want to have him hop a few times. All right. So let me take this camera and just give myself a little bit more room. Okay. Alright, so select all this stuff right here, and we'll have him hop maybe one more short hop right here. And again, we'll turn a 5-frame hop cycle and we'll turn it into a 7-frame one. So we're staying in that half beat thing. Okay. So frame 86 plus 7 is frame 93. Alright. So we're just going along. And what I want is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I have a long hop button here too, which makes him hop really, really long. So, and that ends up being messed up is what it ends up being, because he's a little bit ahead of himself right here. So let's go ahead and have him land like that. And like that. Okay, so 86 plus 7 comes up to 93 is where he lands. So this hop is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 frames. Again, we're pretty close to 10 frames, all right, because we can hit that on 3/4. So what I'm going to do is, you know, or we can just leave it at 11, because remember, when we split up our time, you know, you can hit something at, you know, frame 1, frame 7, frame 14, or you can hit frame 10 or 11ish, or frame 3 or 4ish, since the division here is 3.5. Okay. Well, since this is an 11-frame hop and I hit it right here on a beat, I'll leave it as 11-frame hop. It's close enough. Okay. This is because music and stuff, I mean, frame here, frame there, as long as you account for it, it's pretty forgiving. Just as long as you account for it. So this is what we've got right now. If we play this, all right. So just a quick little piece of something. Alright, this little turn right here, this little jump, I'm not a big fan of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my camera just a little bit earlier. I'm a frame ahead here. We can make it 2 frames ahead. Just because I just like what's going on there a little bit better. Alright, holds, hops, 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 and away he goes. So doo-de-doo-de-doo. And somewhere around here is where he ends. So let's just end at frame 104. So there we go. I have no music in here at all. I'm not scrubbing sound. I'm just going off of the math I figured out from beats per minute and figuring out beats and then dividing that and finding frames that are suitable to the music to make action occur. Okay? What's this going to look like? Well, let me make a play blast, and I promise you, if I'm wrong, I'm going to show you I'm wrong. I'm not going to fudge it off screen, but let me make a play blast here real quick. Okay, we're going to do audio off of this. Keith, Mark. Alright, as you can see, that's not too shabby. Alright, the first accent, the head turn, hits on the music. There's a little trombone slide there that we're missing. We're missing the trombone slide with the thing. I actually wasn't trying to hit it, but now I see it and I'm like, oh, I can adjust that head turn to hit that trombone slide. You notice the hopping off though. Every hop feels like he's hitting that bass note, doom, 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 doom. And there's one at the end where the 11 frame hop, the long hop, I'm going to turn that into a 14 so that he hits the full beat there because there's a certain jive to it that I like. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like here in Maya. So what I can do here now, I can start to kind of nail in. You know, I've got the audio file up. Now I can scrub and go through these things and kind of figure out you know where the sound's going to be at in here. So I can hear the right around here is that slide. So I want the head turn to kind of hit that, but I want it to be in time with the music. I could just slide it back to this little thing right here, you know, kind of figuring out where the auto track is, but we want to avoid that. All right, again, we don't want to do as much scrubbing. We just want to be able to just do it and know what our math is. Okay, so we know that frame 43 is a beat right there, and notice how that lines up with the beginning of that little thing. Isn't that amazing? It's amazing. The math works with the music, works with the animation. It's all like super crazy, man. I don't understand it. You're blowing my brain. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take this stuff and I just want to have him hit that turn somewhere around here. Okay, I could do it ahead of it, but I actually want the turn to kind of coincide with the music right there. See how that feels good? It's a little bit ahead, a little bit late. I'm starting it a little bit ahead because I want it to feel like it's sliding with the music, so I'm starting the motion a couple of frames before the beat. Again, like lip sync, we want to kind of do it before the sound so it feels like it's synced up. It's like some weird magic thing with our eyes. That's what we do. So I wanted to change that. And then this over here, I wanted to turn this 11 frame hop from 86 out to 104. I just wanted to turn into a 14 frame hop. Well, you know, just start sliding things out. The easy way to do that is just make the hang time a lot more. So let's go ahead and add 11 to 14 is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm just moving these keys. I'm going to make the hang time a little bit higher here. Just so it hangs up a little bit and hits on that beat. Okay, and that beat, let me see, add it up. 72 plus 14 is 86 plus 14 is 100. My brain is not working. Okay, and so we're kind of hitting it on a half right there at 107. All right, it kind of works. So we're going to have him land on that half beat right there, and if I wanted to, I could do another short hop right here and make that a 7 frame short hop as well. The thing is, that'll be our third beat, so we want to add it out one more frame because of the leftovers. Okay, so Let me select my camera, and way back here in the camera cut I'm just going to give myself a little bit more room to see it all. Alright, so when we get up here, I'm going to move my camera back so I can see what's happening with the character. Alright. And so he lands at 15, and that's where we're going to end it. Alright, because I'm not going to do any more animation on this scene. Alright, so, and I'm not scrubbing to the music, it's just that the music happened to be on. So now what I want to do is I want to make another play blast, and we'll look at this, and we'll see if my little adjustments to making things slide and line up worked, okay? And see if it feels like it's playing along with the music. Oh, the other thing is that first play blast I did, the cut felt pretty good. It felt like we were cutting at a pretty logical point in time. But we might look at that again after this one and see if maybe we want to edit it and have some fun with it or something. All right, well, let's take a break and make a play blast and then come back and talk about it. All right, so what we have there, as you notice, that slide now, that head turn happened on that trombone slide, and that looked really, really cool. But the one thing I didn't like is the camera cut felt a little late. I want it to cut on that brass hit that we had, which is it's like a half or a quarter beat, it's about a quarter beat before we do the turn, or I mean the cut. So let's go ahead and hit the cut on that brass hit, and it's gonna feel really, really cool. So coming back to our Maya scene right here, and let's go ahead and select our camera. Select camera. The cut is happening at frame 7. Well, it's trying to hit this full beat right here. And the head turn is, this half beat in front of it. Well, I'm sorry, the head turn is a full beat back in front of it. But you see right here is another half, or, we do the number here. 43 is a full beat, okay? And then 56 is another full beat, and then 73 was another full beat. So 57. 43 plus 14 is 57. So the halfway point, or somewhere between 57 and 73, is where this brass hit happens. All right. Well, let's have the cut happen before the brass hit. But it's kind of like on that, if you add 3.5 frames to 57, you get to 60 or 61. And notice that's right at the beginning of that brass hit. So let's take it back a notch, and let's just move this entire camera cut and have it happen frames 60 to 61 or so. Okay? Again, what I'm doing is I'm just taking my beats and my frames and I'm dividing them down into simple little matters. I am scrubbing in here to kind of show you, but at this point it's I'm just doing the math. I could turn this thing off and get you the same answers. I'm showing you the music lining up here so you can see that the math works with the music, not that you have to have the music on to do it. Okay? The whole point, again, is to be able to understand how to use the music without actually scrubbing through it. And if you need to scrub through a little piece of it here and there, at least you're working with a framework of understanding. You're not like just guessing, like, well, do I do it here? Do I do it there? I mean, I had to scrub it once, maybe check it out where it's at, and I just decide I'm going to make the camera hit on this brass hit right there. Okay? So one last look at a play blast of this thing. I'm pretty sure this one's going to be solid, and I'm going to include just the play blast as a movie for you guys to watch as an attachment to the thing. I'm going to wrap up this lecture session right here, go on the live camera, say goodbye, and all those good things. You know, the usual drill. But really, just take a look at the QuickTime and study it, and see that I didn't pull any punches here. I did no animation off screen right here. Everything I did right here in front of you, and so you can see that understanding how the math of music works and the math of how it relates to frames and beats and animation can make animating the music. It gives it structure, where it's so much animation these days doesn't have. Okay, that's enough blabbing. Check this out. What'd you think?
You watch that little play blast thing I made for you there. Kinda cool. Alright? The guy turns his head in time with the music, and then he turns it back on the trombone slide, and then the cut is bam right on that brass hit, and then when he hops, you hear that boom, 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 boom with the stand-up bass, and the hip hops are right on the boom, 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 except for the long hop, which kind of rides across this little bridge right there, and then he starts landing and goes on. Kind of neat stuff, and we did that. Literally, I didn't do anything off screen. Everything I did, I videoed. Promise you. Scout's honor. I'm not even a scout. I promise you. Everything I did was right there on the screen. It was really just a matter of figuring out the math first. Once we figured out the structure of what time was and figuring out what the underlying mathematical structure of the music is, we can then bring that into our world of animation, figure out a way to correlate it, and make our actions line up. Probably the trickiest thing to remember, it's kind of like lip sync, like I said in the video. Just anticipate things a frame or two, just because it helps. But by far the trickiest thing is that those leftover frames or subframes on the beats. Now, one thing I forgot to mention in the video portion of this, if you have, we had 14.4, okay, so we had 0.4 extra because we rounded it down to a 14 beat. Well, if it was 14.8, we would have rounded it up to a 15 beat, but we would have been short 0.2 frames, okay? So every 5 frames we would have had to take one off, okay? Because we added one on, we had an extra one. Well, we were, not short. We wouldn't have been short 0.2. It's kind of hard to describe, but we had extra frames that we were using. Well, what we did, if we rounded up from a 14.8 to a 15, we're actually we're borrowing a 0.2 frame from thin air. It's kind of like subprime mortgages, We just borrow it out of thin air. I'm a banker. I can rule the world. I don't know where that came from. But, so we borrowed this 0.2 out of thin air. Well, we're going to have to pay it back, right? So if we go to a 15 and we're kind of, so if you do that, then once you get up to where you've borrowed a frame, you have to kind of give a frame back. All right? Or it kind of makes sense. It's kind of the inverse of what we did because we rounded down. Well, if we had to round up, you just give a frame back. So instead of adding a frame that's been standing by the side, we give one back that we've been borrowing. Because we pay our bills here at Lango Animation. We pay our bills. The orange juice, man, it's just driving me crazy. It's the orange juice. It's the orange juice. Okay. Anyways, I hope this was helpful to you guys. Like I said, it's kind of esoteric. Nobody teaches this stuff. I don't know who does. I mean, the guys who used to do this stuff we're almost all dead. And those of us who kind of kicking around at it, I've been benefiting mostly from the work of others, like Hans Perk at A-Film. He's been doing a lot of work in this. His stuff on understanding bar sheets and all these things has opened the world of possibilities to my eyes. So I gotta give props to Hans, I suppose you would say, Hans, because he did the hard work of digging this stuff up. He's a real historian. But you're not going to see this stuff in colleges. It's just not there. So here it is, at Lango Animation, VTS. You get the stuff that nobody else gets. Not sure you want it. It's kind of, maybe it's like a stuffed mounted zebra head on your wall. Kind of cool. Don't know if you want it. Don't know if it's useful. Kind of cool. Anyways, put it to good use. And until next month, you all have fun. Drink your orange juice. Be good, and God bless.